Restart. Okay. Hello, everyone, and welcome to this, I believe, the 16th episode of the third season of Second Sons. It might be the 17th. I haven't checked because I'm awesome at my job. As always, I am Roy Rogers, formerly the New York City Meta, currently of the Philadelphia / my apartment Meta. And just earlier now, my fiance and I were watching the 90s classic Goosebumps, the series, which was awesome and an amazing tribute to the 90s. And I would recommend, if you have a Netflix subscription, you check it out. Joining me today,
use someone else's.
Glazer is not allowed to speak in this segment, as always, but he is joining me today, as always. And I'm joined by my doppelganger from the West Coast, Sid. How you doing, Sid?
I'm doing great. I'll piggyback. I've always loved a little R.L. Stein. Always sent shivers down my spine, and I think you should also watch as much Goosebumps as you can. It really is the great American pastime of creepy, crawly things. But in terms of just life, I'm having a great time. I'm loving life. Life's moving fast.
If you don't stop looking around once in a while.
Psh, quiet, Glazer. All right, so I'm going to put my hand up like we're in school. All right, can't speak. All right, so joining us also today, since not just on the technical side, but his handsome birthday boy face is with us today. How you doing, Buzz?
I'm good.
You're good? Excited for Nordics?
Yes, maybe.
So enthusiastic.
The dealing with the distributor is a pain.
And then we have Sandy is too busy being world famous Amazon employee to join us today. So we have, of course, I keep being told he's the champion of my heart. This man creature. Is this Chris Schoenthal that's gracing our screen? I don't know. I don't recognize him. How are you doing, Chris?
Doing well, Roy. A little chilly.
But
you know.
What? You guys have chill in San Diego? Like,
yeah,
Brian
like
complaining at Thrones War about how
terrible.
cold it was and uncomfortable it was in this beautiful 65 degrees in January weather.
That's right. It was like 68 today. I was freezing. I don't have any Netflix recommendations, but glad to be back.
Yeah, we haven't done this in about a month. We were talking in the pre-show about that. And joining us today is a very special guest who I'm going to let introduce himself. So go ahead, Evan. Tell us who you are and why you're here.
Hello, my name is Evan Johnson. I may work for a certain company in my off time, but that's not important here. I play Game of Thrones, and happy to be here.
Those of you may recognize him from the day one commentary of Thrones War this year, who did it with Second Son's favorite former world champion, Alexander Hines, right?
Yeah, he showed up about 3 rounds in. I think I had to do a couple rounds solo because that was pretty grueling. But he showed up, and then we were all good. I also do the commentary at Worlds every year, as you may know.
Quite well.
Oh, thank you.
You and Ryan always do a good job.
We'll be back this year.
Awesome. That's exciting. All right. So a couple of things before we get started. I want to, again, congratulate Buzz on his birthday. So since the last time we did this, we did not do a pre-national or post-nationals episode, right? Post-U.S. Nationals? Did we congratulate the winner of U.S. Nationals? I do not remember.
Maybe remember who won U.S. Nationals. That was so long
ago. Dustin.
But congratulations.
I definitely
Justin
remember.
Archer.
I like Dustin.
Yeah.
Team Stark.
Dustin, congratulations, Dustin, former member of Team Stark and Storm Bros. Congratulations, Dustin, on winning U.S. Nationals. Congratulations to Austin Restitano for winning Battle of the Bay of Crabs, which is the last stop on the Northeast Championship Tour. Congratulations to friend of the show, Calejandro, for winning, what is it?
Siege of Highgarden.
Yeah, cool. Siege of Highgarden. Was it the third one?
Yes.
Second tournament.
Second.
Third.
Third Siege of Highgarden. I'm sorry.
And the first stop, Sid, right?
Second
your guys'
stop on
version.
the WCC, yeah.
On the WCC.
We kicked off in July in Los Angeles.
Oh, okay, cool. So it's been a busy time in tournaments in North America. Congratulations to returning Italian champion for this year. Niemer is back to thrill us and smash all of us and take our toys at World. So we're excited to have him again. He's a friend of the show. I think Varberg, though, was this past weekend, right, Buzz?
That's correct.
And who won Varberg?
Tim Josefsson from the Uppsala meta.
Congratulations to him and his first round bye at Stalik. Exciting times. So this is like the heart of competitive tournament season. So there's a ton of stuff out there. So I just want to make sure that we congratulate all the tournament winners. I don't think
there was a Queen of the Annals.
Oh, Queen of the Annals, right? Who ended up winning Queen of the Annals?
Sean Bohan.
Oh, Bohan, another friend of the show.
The best West member.
Boy.
Polish
the best person from that shitty little town.
Bohan is the best member of the Wasa meta who is not Sam Bratz. So
I will go Nick Hansen. I will go Bohan, Nick Hansen, then Sam Bratz.
Whoa. I mean, all those three dudes are awesome dudes. Like that's like choosing between.
No, Bratz has not given me any decks or helped me with any decks for Throne Soberfest. So I have to go through Nick Hansen, so Nick Hansen tops him.
Yeah, I'm going to agree and say Bohan's the best. He by himself drove me around only when I needed rides. So Bohan is by far the man of my heart.
Bohan is great. Anyway, so before we jump into the main topic, one of the reasons why Evan's here, Evan's part-time job provided us with a lovely exclusive spoiler, which I hope I'm going to be pressing send on the Instagram account right now, Buzz, as per your instructions. Ooh. Done, shared. But has Buzz put it on the stream?
No, I totally forgot about that. You can go. It'll be.
This is literally the second time that we've done that.
Well, just tell everyone to go check our Instagram. Post our Instagram in the chat.
I still need to read it for the people who are watching the YouTube / are listening to it. All right, so provided
you don't ever post these as fucking audio episodes. Don't lie.
Do it all the time. These are just because you don't subscribe to the feed. Doesn't mean it doesn't exist. All right. So our totally free spoiler provided courtesy of Fantasy Flight Games is a 6-cost non-loyal 5-strength military power Bicon non-unique called Brightwater Host. It is an army, and House Florent has no attachments, and this totally interesting reaction. After you win a challenge in which Brightwater Host is attacking, choose a card in Shadows and return it to its owner's hand. Then, a unique Tyrell character you control gains 2 power. Evan, what do you think about this card?
I'm thinking about this card. I think that it's good. I mean, not necessarily good right now. Would be good in a heavy Shadows meta. I'm also struggling. I mean, so you win a challenge with this guy. Like best case scenario, at least in the current meta where there aren't typically a ton of cards in Shadows, you make them bring something out of Shadows a little earlier than they would have wanted to. So maybe it's like, I'll pop Mira out this round. Maybe I wanted to save her. That's fine. Or I'll throw out the Queen's Guard that I had sitting in there. But at the, if the meta moves much more Shadows heavy and people typically have, 3, 4, whatever cards sitting around in Shadows, then I can see this card becoming very good.
I mean, can't you just pop your own stuff?
That can you?
Yeah, it says choose.
I don't remember the read of the card.
In Shadows and return it to its owner's hand. So
yeah. That's fine.
I mean, it's a reason to finally put the Scheming Septon into Shadows.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Size mace triggers.
Optimally, he will be best when you have good targets on your own side, right?
Yeah.
There's no limit on him, right?
No limit. No. If you can use him multiple times. He's also pretty good against
participating is the limit, right?
No.
Attacking is the limit.
Right. If you can use him multiple times.
Yeah. You stand him, do it again. Claim 4 power. It's not bad. As long as you have 2 cards in Shadows, you can send back. But
right, and it can also be good in a deck that puts enough pressure on their opponent that they don't have the money to bring useful cards out of Shadows. Like if you can stick your opponent early with like the Aegon sometimes gets stuck in shadows. The Greyjoy Marauders sometimes get stuck in shadows. If you can sort of keep pressuring them, they can't take the tempo hit of bringing it out if they played them into shadows on setup or early like that. Like forcing them to have to repay for Mira, who's been returned to shadows. Is really useful. Like I do think that like the card will probably be broken when there's some kind of interaction with your own shadows cards, but as like a potential answer that can gain you 2 power to powerful shadows effects, is pretty good. And if your opponent is mirroring this card as a Tyrell player, you're relatively happy. Yeah. Like they're like much better targets for Mira that you would rather, you don't want to Mace or any of the Marjories or Randall or something. So.
It is an army, so you can bring him out with Aegon, right? Yeah, yep. And then put him right back in and use him again.
Hey, I don't know. Targ Dragon isn't a good deck, is it? Oh, wait, yes, it is.
Tyrell Dragon. Yes.
Tyrell,
not Targ Rose.
Right, Tyrell Dragon.
I mean, he is expensive, though, right? Like, he's going to have to... You're going to have to make considerations for this guy. He doesn't immediately slot in, so I think that makes it less amazing, but I'll piggyback off of what Roy said. There's definitely a deck coming for this guy, but also grabbing what Evan said, like I don't know that we have the shadows yet. It's great to be able to throw the Sept in maybe, but I think it wants more than that to really be effective.
You know what's the thing? Melee.
What's the thing? Ooh, now you're talking. Now you're talking more interesting because, well, I mean, power's at more of a premium in Melee, and there's probably going to be more shadows in Melee. I don't know. I have no concept of the Melee. The current Melee meta. Is shadows a big part of it? I have no idea. But if it is, then he'll be good. Yeah.
I'm going to blow up the art. There's actually, it seems like it's the Fox's Teeth, which is one of my favorite armies in the books. That's pretty cool.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's a pretty interesting Shadows design, and I think it's just going to basically have to wait until we basically get to the point where Danny described on the white book, which is when both Shadow cycles are out. We can actually kind of really see what a format full of Shadows looks like. So far, like, Shadows has been maybe like a little underwhelming. Like, there's some very powerful Shadows cards, like we just got Mira, but like, and next pack that this comes out of, we had the Pit, which is coming, and this is also pretty useful against those expensive events. Like if you can, because I think Jaznek's Pit is an interrupt, right? So you have to wait until the end of the challenges phase to trigger it. So if if you're a target opponent and that's their only card in Shadows and they're not bringing it out, it's not Aegon, like that's a huge tempo play for you because you get the 2 power. They have to wait a whole turn because they can't play Shadows events out of their hands. So like
they wouldn't play it again, right? Like they would just not play it again at that point unless they can get that shit off the board.
Yeah,
but, like
if you're playing if you're playing a Pit deck, like the deck is built around like being able to abuse that interaction, and Tyrell in particular has a lot of trouble already putting up with aggro pressure. Like 2 challenge phases in a row is difficult for them to survive, and now you have an answer to that play. I'm just
Namer might have solved that shit.
No kidding.
Yeah.
Like Namer might have just been like, "Oh, I put my mind to it, and it's not a problem anymore. Look, we're still the best."
Maybe.
Did you look at that deck yet?
I did look at that deck. I think it's a great deck.
No. The double support of the Faith is just like a fucking nightmare. Supporting the Faith, is that what it's called?
Yeah.
Yes.
It was the secret tech last year for Team Sweden. I bet that's where he stole it from. No.
Can I just say one thing?
I had that in my Stark Fealty in my No Fun.
Yeah, it's good.
For war.
Glazer, we tested this a lot for Gen Con. There's this 6-cost card in Targ that I hear if you discard a card from your hand, it reduces the cost to bring things out of Shadows. That gets around.
Oh, does that get around event?
Yeah, it gets an event. It's a bring out of Shadows, so it pays for the
game. Okay. I thought it wouldn't work because it's an event. Okay, that'll help. Yeah.
Yeah, that's the one exception. It cannot pay for normal events, as Stephen Ebery found out in the finals of Highgarden this weekend.
Oh, no.
He made the finals, not knowing. Who lets you read
semifinals? Sorry.
Did he lose to Michelle, or did he
No,
lose
he lost
to
Alejandro?
Alejandro? Okay, cool.
Oh.
All right. Any more thoughts about this card before we jump into our main segment? Anybody got anything?
I don't know. Cold Humbert likes it, so it must be good.
Uh-oh.
I
I think it's the second thing that we've seen that's kind of indicative of like a Shadows counterplay, at least to some extent, that what hasn't really been present. In first edition, there was a plot that just blew up all the Shadows cards at once, and I'm hoping we don't see anything quite on that level, maybe. But it's nice to have some back and forth.
King's Law, I say bring it back. Bring it back.
No, please, no.
There's no reason to bring.
That's a pretty brutal thing.
No reason. You've got Support of the Faith, which already fucks up Shadows. You've got what's it called? You can't Barring the Gates. Thank you. Mm-hmm. You've got Barring the Gates, and unless you have a King Plock's gonna make it so that why the fuck would you even bother? So like, you can run a plot deck with 4 plots that say fuck your Shadows. I feel like that's probably enough.
And also just the way the economy works in second edition, I just think like King's Law is like way over curve as an effect, right? Like 2 gold to put something in Shadows is we found so far, I think, to be way more of a tempo hit than it was in first edition. So like that much of a hoser, I don't think is necessary. Because I mean, Shadows decks like King's Law gave you that huge breathing space of a turn, but Shadows decks could survive. Unless their opponent won that turn. But I don't think a Shadows deck could survive a King's Law affected second edition.
So has anyone bothered, like, people have tried the Lannister one, right? Like, people have tried the Lannister location at this point?
I played against an Iron Throne.
No.
Wait, I was pretending I was talking to other people, but I was really talking to Sid. Sid, I'm so fucking disappointed in you right now. You have no idea.
I would definitely try it if I played.
You've got me theory crafting Martell crap for
That's
your
fair.
team.
I've got the first deck. I've got the Martell Lion, which is the most fun deck in the world. But oh my god, does it just want all the gold?
Yeah.
I tried to get people on Martell Cohort just to stop crossing because it's the only thing that I think stops every single crossing build. But
the Fealty has,
but it doesn't stop much else. So.
The one Shoemaker was playing has been really great against crossing.
I can imagine it's good against crossing.
Now that we've given all of Team Martell's secrets to the chat,
we discussed,
definitely not a
this
secret.
already. We are he took it to a fucking major tournament. We're not playing secret games here. I'll tell you what deck everyone's playing, and then come beat us. It's fine.
They are testing Mortal Wolf, guys.
What? Ooh. That's the worst combination ever. Why would people play Martell?
You heard it here, folks.
There's no interaction there.
I'm not playing Martell Wolf, which constantly makes me sad. I keep going to Martell Wolf players like, hey, you want to try another deck? So I think it's
don't feel bad.
Team
Martell, do not let make Aaron Glazer play the most boring Martell deck.
I am. I'm 100% doing it because no one else seems to want it, and I feel like I owe it to the team to play it. So I'm playing boring Martell.
All right. On that note, Glazer, do you want to take us through the main segment for us today?
Sure. White Book episode, I don't know, 2 million. Like, there's been a lot of those shits. Happened recently, so we got an interview with Danny Schaefer, who designs the game. During that, Danny strongly implied, and I might be overstating that, but I only by one strongly, if at all, that we would be getting restricted list, and his quote is sooner rather than later. That was his quote, right? I'm not making that up.
That's roughly what he said.
Like, I'm pretty sure those were the actual words, but from that point, like I suggested, during the giant
after that, Aaron didn't listen to a single thing that Danny said that day.
You know what, Chris? Hashtag too real.
So, but however, after that, I suggested that it be during the big hiatus, and Danny got quite coy. So that obviously doesn't mean yes, but like,
winter is coming.
If it quacks like a duck,
and so am I,
it might just be a duck. So we decided to put together a I decided to put together a restricted list because let's be honest, I kind of always have a restricted list ready to go. to discuss at the end of this cycle when we will hopefully finally get a real restricted list. That work? Yes? No? Maybe?
Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah.
Let's talk about it.
We'll start with neutrals. Oh, I just was told chat. I'm confused about why I was told.
He was just putting the link in so people could read it. It's fine.
For entering the main segment, I thought people would want the chat.
Okay. So I broke the list into definites and discussions. Definites is the things I would recommend be on there. Discussions are the things I think we have to talk about, and we can maybe move some up to definites or not as we discuss. So definites first. Ready? For neutrals?
Go for it.
Heads on Spikes, King of the North, and Devout Freerider.
Yeah, you
Devout
sure
Free
it's
Rider's
not
a waste of space on
it's
there.
premature, right? Devout Free Rider, is it a little premature?
It's the closest to premature on there. I just hate unintended interactions that kind of break the game that way.
Can we not just
Devout-
One card a turn is breaking the game?
I mean, this is Terrell, so a little bit, but like, and then if you have more than one out, you can just get the 3. It's just annoying. Like, there's no tempo hit to it. There's nothing but like pure goodness from it, from having one Devout Free Rider and multiple of this stupid card out in your Terrell, so you get all the draw. It basically makes all your stupid Terrell combos like 100%. I'm gonna pull this shit off whenever I want, and that makes me very sad. Does it have to be on there? No, but I'd really like to just see that combo go away. And yes, we could errata buzz, but since we've got, I believe, literally no errata, nor any indication that errata's coming, as long as certain people have say, then I'm assuming that it would need to be restricted instead.
Wait, no, we have errata, don't we?
This is the kind. We have the cudgel,
Driftwood
right?
Cudgel, yeah.
And that Tyrell Knight guy who was spelled wrong.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
This is definitely the kind of stuff that they would errata, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I'm fine. Just errata it then.
I mean, like usage errata, like functionality errata that basically makes the card function as somebody reads it, is not like the worst kind of errata in the world, right?
But this isn't that. Like, it functions like somebody would read it.
Cudgel was that. Yes.
Yeah.
Errata apparently hit to go forward. You must go back. Did that get hit by errata?
Yes,
it was to clarify
the way people
they
at least
don't
hoped
shuffle
it should
it.
work.
Yeah.
Yeah, this would be a different kind of errata. That's for sure. If Devout Free Rider got hit.
Well, wait, wouldn't the Septon need the errata? Rules. Yeah. To just basically make the entire, so it has to, the whole effect has to resolve, so you don't draw the card. Like, it's the Septon that would have to be hit, not the Free Rider, unless they want to go back and reverse engineer the rules, but that will have a whole bunch of headachy.
Errata sounds really complicated.
Second order effects. Yeah.
Let's just let people draw their cards and move on with their lives.
The world will survive.
Okay. So, heads in King of the North. Any arguments? Because I'm expecting Buzz to get super mad about King of the North.
That card needs to be restricted.
It needs to be restricted.
Probably.
Control doesn't even really have a foothold, and this just puts its foot on the throat of Control, and it's like, good luck. Like, it does. We don't even need it. Like, we don't need this card right now. It just hurts the whole archetype.
If I say yes on this, I'm gonna say no on another card that's coming up.
That's totally fine.
Balance and all things.
Yeah.
As all right.
So,
but Evan, what were you gonna say?
Want to go through?
Like,
regarding King in the North?
Yeah.
Oh, only that I think it needs to be restricted.
Yeah. Why?
Why? Because it basically what you guys were saying, where it's not something that we need. It is extremely harmful to certain deck archetypes, a la Control. It's really, really ubiquitous. It hurts my favorite faction, Martel, because they don't have a king.
Yeah. I mean,
I've actually been sort of kicking around an idea of doing a tournament format in Minnesota where we just ban all champ cards for a tournament.
My God, please.
Which fixes like 90% of my problems with the meta. So
I agree. I lost my quarterfinals game at High Garden to a series of 3 separate champ cards, including one with a good friend of mine's face on it. So I'm down with the no champ.
Was it
card.
Iron Bank or was it finally Faceless
not
Man?
Faceless Man.
I swear that card's going to be good one day. Yeah,
it will be good one day.
Yeah. It was not that day.
It is that day.
I think actually King in the North will be a little bit better once the King attachments rotate, and you have to have actually characters with printed King in play.
Well, because they rotate with the actual Kings.
No,
almost
some factions will still have
a lot
Kings.
of them. Yes, a few.
Well, a lot
and I mean, we have
Targ
time between now and then. We could get more Kings and more.
Yeah. Targ will have 1. Barra will have 2, and that's it. No. Oh, yeah. No, that should be it.
Knights. There will always be the neutral one. You'll always have Mance. You'll always have Mance. Like at the end of the day, like if you truly hate
even
King in the North, you can always just play Mance.
And Tommen.
And Tommen.
Evergreen too.
Tommen's Evergreen too. There you go.
I think the big issue with the card is something that goes against what Jacob wanted from the card. He really, really, really wanted Burning Bridges in the game.
Why didn't he just fucking print Burning Bridges?
Should have just been Burning Bridges. I agree.
Yeah, he really loved that, and he really enjoyed the implication of, okay, here's my stuff, that's your stuff, let's fight. And now it's like, I have my stuff, I can do whatever I want, fuck you.
Yeah.
I'm glad to hear that wasn't Jakob's original intent. Like that's
to me, what's actually kind of interesting, if there's one interesting thing about King in the North that's going on, is I actually kind of like how it's made interaction on the level of events a little bit more important than it was before King in the North became so ever-present. So, like, events, Targaryen, even if Targaryen gets shut off, it can still interact on event level, Hand Judgment still interact. Like, it's just really, like, that is, I found actually to be one of the more interesting unintended side effects of King of the North being everywhere, as sort of I've watched games and played in tournaments. So if it was really Burning Bridges, that would be even more the case. So I don't know. Jakob should just get an errata and just get rid of that.
Do we want to discuss heads, or we've done that enough and just move on? I just added something else to the list because I thought of it now. While Roy was rambling, I was like, Roy,
go ahead.
Love King of the North. All right, Free Folk is probably going to end up having to be restricted, but I don't think we're there yet. It's too new still.
So we should clarify that there's a list coming up of neutral cards that aren't in the obvious, yes, these definitely restricting the camps. These are the sort of borderline ones that could go either way.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So if we restrict King in the North, it gives a real bump to control, and that's really good against Free Folk.
Yeah, that's fair. I could see that. I mean, it's just a thing to keep an eye on, too.
Free Folk is just a thing we need to keep an eye on. It's the new hotness. The question is, like,
I think people are too much. The sky is falling, as one is saying. It's like...
Yeah.
It's answerable. We'll see. I don't think it's that bad.
Everyone knows Sea of Blood is the real problem, and we're still a few months away from that card. So
yeah,
I can't wait. That's where the sky will be falling blood.
All right. I don't think Flea Bottom needs to be restricted anymore. I think if you restrict a couple of its more popular targets, if you want to build your entire deck around that interaction, there's enough answers in the meta for Flea Bottom that I don't really give a shit anymore. Thoughts? Does anyone still feel strongly that Flea Bottom
I'll agree it's not that impressive, but I don't know. I might just want to future-proof it and throw that baby on there. Like it's not bad right now, right? But the card is still broken as hell.
Like, but the idea of a restricted list is that it updates like every let's say 4 to 5 months, right? So if it became a problem again, it wouldn't. Like if it's not a problem for the first 2 months of it, then it's a problem for a month. Fucking deal with it for a month.
I'd like to go back.
Like, go ahead, Evan.
Yeah.
My opinion is that Flea Bomb just restricts so much future design space, right? It's like we could restrict, the best Flea Bottom targets, but then it's like, well, they either can't print those cards or they have to restrict them as soon as they come out, let's just restrict Flea Bottom, and that way we can leave off, the Veteran Builders and the Shadow Sea Bastards and, whatever.
Yes.
I'd like to go back to Stalek last year. The Americans, some of the SoCal guys took the Nemer's deck, the Crossing.
Yeah, the landing crossing.
And we talked about it, and then they said, yeah, we found that Nemer's deck was probably the best, but we made it better. We added Flea Bottom. And that's the issue, right? It's almost any deck. You're like, okay, I add 1 or 2 Flea Bottom, and it's instantly better, regardless of how it's built before.
So, but yes, to an extent. Here's the extent that always runs into to me. There are certain decks, like Stark was this way before Wyman, and I think Barra is this way right now. There are certain decks that can use Flea Bottom, and there's certain decks that abuse Flea Bottom. But the decks that abuse Flea Bottom tend to heavily rely on it, and if you run in those decks, and I've got one more point that I've got to come back to after this. If you heavily restrict, you can counterplay against Flea Bottom, right? And you can totally shut down, when Sandy was winning everything for that few months with the Targ deck, right? People would play Isle of Ravens, he'd be like, oh, I lost this game. Flea Bottom decks are not hard to counter. You run a couple of Barring and a Flea Bottom deck is dead.
That's not the issue for me.
Right, but more than that, I think the real issue is I'm not sure that if the Targ meta that seems to be expected is coming, Flea Bottom is even good, let alone great.
I think the big issue isn't that it's that good anymore. It's that it's in so many decks still. That's the biggest issue. It's neutral. If it wasn't neutral, I'd buy your argument. Then it's fine.
I think it has to come out. I think the Targ location literally makes it a dead card.
So, but here's the thing. Buzz, I agree with Buzz and Evan. We got to bring their points together. And Aaron, we were literally in a conversation with John the other day, and we were talking about a deck that he was building for Worlds. And he's like, I literally want Flea Bottom in this deck. I just have to find the space for it. It's still at that point.
That's not what he said. That's a complete
He said he wanted Flea. All right. It's a gross characterization because it doesn't prove your point, Glazer.
No,
look, the point is that Flea Bottom is Chekhov's gun that is pointed at the meta constantly. Right now, thanks to how fast the meta is, and yes, Targaryen got easy, cheap answers to it, it's a little suppressed. But if we are going to be lowering the heat overall in the meta with a restricted list, we need to get the other major thing that can overheat it again, which is Flea Bottom. Flea Bottom is always going, until it rotates, going to be a gun pointed at this, because it always can just make decks better by just accelerating their game plan, particularly discard decks that like Tyrell, like Targaryen, that want to use the discard piles at second hand, right? And right now, that's pushed a little bit out, right? I was playing a Tyrell deck to 5th place at Bay of Crabs without Flea Bottom, right? Even though it was still using the discard pile and checking things all the time because it didn't need it right now because the meta's so fast. But if the meta slows down a little bit, Flea Bottoms are going fucking back in that deck in a second, right?
As a counterpoint to that, though, Roy, you have to we just talked for 5 minutes about how Shadows has a bunch of natural counterplots. All those counterplots are Flea Bottom counterplots too. You can run Supporting the Faith, you can run Barring the Gates, and then Flea Bottom's not as good either. So I think the answers are out there, like Roy said, or like Aaron said. Yes,
I think the answers are out there, but consistently those answer decks. They're great when some Tyrell deck that's abusing Flea Bottom is running hot, and then they run into Landing Crossing and lose. So then they exit the meta again, and then
I think that's a Landing Crossing problem, not a Flea Bottom problem.
I'd like to point out that my argument isn't necessarily about competitiveness, and it's more about design space. It's more about design space and interesting deck building, right? For me, I love Targ's design of discarding cards, giving up card advantage for tempo. That's one of the... I love playing that stuff. It's so fun. Sheeping out with Flea Bottom is so boring that it's just, okay, I get cards and I get tempo. No.
So that would be the argument that would sway me is more a ubiquity argument, that it's not about the power level of the card. It's about the fact that it's everywhere, and in every deck, every house has a deck that really loves it, things like that. And that's the only argument I could be interested in entertaining for it. But I don't think it's necessarily true at this point.
Sure. I mean, that's where I'm coming from. Not necessarily
that's
this
fair.
is broken.
We've got like 40 more cards to get through. Let's take the next two
Yeah.
together.
Go ahead.
But bottom is a controversial one. We're not going to talk like that.
And it also shapes the discussion of the rest of the list, so that's important.
The next two are Wars and Crossing. We should talk about them together.
Well, Crossing 100% should go on the restricted list. Like 100%. That agenda needs to go.
And then we just get 80% fucking Wars decks again, and that doesn't
That's
help
fine.
at
Put
all.
Are
Wars
we?
on there too. I don't care.
See, I think
if you do one, you do both. Because
Are we?
otherwise, the other one just gets
Yeah.
catapulted to the top of every competitive scene. Yeah,
Yep.
I'm not sure
That's
if that's
every competitive
true.
scene
When
that
this
is not
happens, we get,
American.
yeah,
Evan,
Very
Evan,
American. You're right,
we
you're
get,
right.
we get
Evan,
Sea
you
of
seem
Blood.
unconvinced by that. Evan, what was your? You don't agree with that assessment?
Yeah, I'm not sure that you necessarily need to restrict both, or the one will be catapulted. In my mind, a lot of the rise of Crossing has been due to the ubiquitous of Wars, that people see a whole lot of Wars in the meta, and it's really, really good, obviously. And so Crossing has risen as kind of this natural counter. It's like, okay, Wars decks, they run a lot of plots. They might take a little bit longer to set up. I'm just going to win before that happens. And if you restrict Wars, it could be that Crossing will kind of normalize to a pre-Wars place in the meta.
I don't know what would fill in that gap, though. Is the only concern I'd have there.
Sure.
Like people brought Crossing, I agree, as a response to Wars, but I think it only really served to show people that, hey, this agenda is still real damn good, and it can be out of multiple houses. Like we saw literally 4 different houses in the top 8 playing Crossing this weekend. So it's versatile in and of itself, and I think people sort of forgot about that for a while. It kind of left their mind, and now it's back in force.
Before we restrict it, assuming that this is restricted again at the end of the cycle, we will have Sea of Blood. And I'd like to see what the Sea of Blood interaction and interplay with these two is. In addition, Free Folk is now in the meta. I'd like to get some more data about how that interaction works before we just assume that these two should be restricted. As if we were still in the meta 2 months ago, sure. But we're talking about the meta, I guess, a month and a half from now, right? And at that point, I'm not as sold.
Yeah.
All right, LGB. I don't think it needs to be restricted.
That is.
Yeah. Call it by its name, LGB.
If you're keeping Free Folk unrestricted, then you got to keep Breaking Ties unrestricted.
Yep, agreed. Definitely agreed.
And lastly, I think I'd actually want this on, but it's probably just me. I really hate Uneasy Truce.
I mean, we're just talking about restricting. Like that's a good.
Wait. You hate Uneasy Truce?
It's just so boring. It's a turn where we just look at each other. I hate it. It's the most boring thing in the world.
It's so perfect. I love it.
It's a good plot that is not bad for the game right now. I
it is the opposite of bad for the game. It should be not plot deck limit 1. It should be plot deck limit 2. It's one of the few things that is keeping these freaking degenerate Crossing decks from winning consistently on on turn 2. That was one of the best design decisions Danny's made in a while. He released the card at the perfect time. It came right when a lot of these overheated power effects were really hitting a critical mass. It's a great plot, and it came exactly.
I like games where you do things, not where we both marshal and then
but this plot allows you to continue to do things in the game instead of it just ending prematurely. That's what the plot's all about. Let's keep playing. Let's not just let you cheese me.
It's basically let's not play for a turn.
then let's keep playing. It's a let's not let you win for a turn.
I think more importantly, we haven't seen what this is capable of yet. We haven't seen this in decks that win yet. We need to see this played.
We also, if you restrict Crossing, you can throw Uneasy Truce on there all you want. But if Crossing is running around, you have to have Uneasy Truce. Like Crossing decks just have way too many tools across 4 functions without
the real problem
a solid answer to it in the plot.
If you're don't have Crossing, you're restricting 9 other cards because otherwise you just play Crossing, right? You have to restrict an entirely different set of cards if you're restricting Crossing.
I mean, incidentally, I've seen your list. Incidentally, plenty of the Crossing tools are on there too. So
I think a whole 2.
All you need to do is 2 critical cards, and bouncing out of whack. But
Well, we got one of them already in Spikes.
Yeah, that's fair. All right. Barra, I don't think anything really needs to be on there. And we should at least note that Bob and Mel could be there one day. So anyone want anything to Barra?
I would be.
Which Mel are you talking about, Glazer?
No,
Obviously,
no,
the
no.
competitive
Wait. Don't answer that. It is. Now I know an answer, but I think it's important to say that I think we should avoid putting stuff that are deck building choices on the restricted list, if possible, unless it's ridiculously strong, like Cersei versus Core Cersei, right?
The same argument you made when they put Viper instead of You Murder Your Children on the list. Like, I'd rather be able to choose a Viper. Like,
yes, we want people to have a deck building choice of which Bob should I play, not this one is restricted, I'm gonna play that one.
When's the last time you saw a 7-cost Mel in a real game?
When I played the game.
I play with Kevin Shannon, so like weekly.
Never heard that name. Does he have to actually talk? I've seen no proof.
It's my favorite.
I don't think either of those cards ever makes it onto a restricted list. Like I just don't see it. We've seen Bob enough. Like he can be really good, but I think he's been one of the best kind of costed big guys in that he never went to that place where everyone was like, freaking Bob, I can't even play this game because of Bob. Like, no, it's
except not when the game first started, but
I feel
that was just before
if,
people figured out Tywin. Like it was never that bad.
I feel like if Baratheon got to the point where it was, busted and needed restriction, Bob and Mel would not be the cards that I restricted to bring them in.
They're not printed.
well, sure. But like Bob is I can almost guarantee like never going to be a problem. I would say like it's just a fine card. It's good. It's well designed.
Too many cards have been printed to deal with him. Like he's never going to rise above that hill of answers that have come out since.
More likely, we'd take a look at Celise, right?
Here we go, guys.
Well,
when I win Worlds with my Barra Alliance Kraken Rose, that's putting Saltcliffe Sailor token on Bob and standing them all the time to just win all these challenges and stealthing past people. Just saying.
I mean, the most synergistic Barra card is the Iron Throne, so we should be looking at that if we're going to look anywhere.
Yeah. Johnny's
the Dom package is so terrible right now, though.
Yeah.
It's very bad right now. I'm just saying,
it would have to be in Drowned God, and at that point, it's a fucking Greyjoy card, right?
Yeah.
Drowned God has
a bad Greyjoy card. You don't need it. You have a way better version of the Iron Throne.
All right. Lanny? 100%. Oh, wait. I skipped Greyjoy.
Greyjoy.
So I wanted to not even bother with Greyjoy because there'll be a box that will introduce a whole world of new problems. The one Greyjoy card... Well, seriously. The one Greyjoy card I'm sure I want restricted is Euron. If there's a fucking plot that does Euron, I don't need a Euron that does Euron.
Fair.
Can we ban him and require all players to burn all their copies of that card? Because that would be great.
It is my single least favorite card in second edition, I think.
It's up there.
He's their most disruptive card, but I don't know if I want to see him gone.
Yeah, I love Euron.
So
Sid says this, and then he's going to try playing Lanny Harrenhal, and then he's going to be like, they stole my Harrenhal on turn one.
Dude, no one's ever playing Lanny Harrenhal.
It's not that it's not just that he steals it that kills me. It's that he has the stupid fucking pillage that makes it pure luck that he steals it. Like if I'm telling you, if pillage weren't a keyword and you had to either blow it up or pull it on intrigue, I'd be like, fucking fine. It's that pillage is so stupid. Like, just don't run good cards because they're Eurons now for pure luck reasons. Like, that's just dumb. It's shit. Like, sorry, Nate, I'm not sorry. That's just shit design. The other two, the only card I hate nearly as much as Euron is Vince. I hate Vince so much that I've actually started to dislike Vince the person, even though I've never met him. I hate that.
If you met him, it would be impossible to not love his guts.
I've heard that, but then I look at this card and
know.
it does everything I hate in the game. Everything. It makes Greyjoy bullshit boards more sticky. It sets up all your stupid ground drag shenanigans. It fucking puts a fork and starts throwing like that's a really bad mixed metaphor. It puts a shovel in and starts throwing dirt on all control decks. There's not a control deck.
Wait,
it makes crossing better for pity's sakes.
Yeah, it makes
makes crossing very good.
Remember
I lost to getting my Aegon Vince triggered, so that was not pleasant.
It is a treachery that costs nothing, is immune to cancel, except for Vince.
Other Vince and treachery.
But Hans Judgment, SAT. Sure, begging brother. But and puts a character into play. Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's like people complained about treachery for so long.
You can just fucking cycle them forever.
Yeah. I know. Also, Buzz just sold me on this card. Why are we wanting to restrict this card?
Wait, Glazer, if we're going to talk about unintended interactions, are we going to ban Iron Victory, Risen from the Sea, and Iron Minds along with Vince, so we can't do the infinite power combo?
I don't even know what that is. I somehow missed this.
I don't think you can't go infinite.
I mean, it's not infinite, but
up to your number of saves.
Basically, Vince and Iron Victory are a power for every save you have available to you.
Correct.
Because it doesn't trigger the max because you haven't done the cost because he didn't die.
That's real dumb.
Yeah, but it's not been very consistent, Glazer. We talked about this so much when Jesse and I were playing Drown God.
You know how much I ignored those conversations? I think Drown God is a plague on the game. I like that it exists, but I am in no way going to play that boring bullshit.
No one asked you to play it. We were just talking.
Yes, they did. You're in the chat where everyone be like, Glazer, you want to try this deck? I hear you like it. Even CT likes this deck. You got to try it. I didn't say you did. You said no one told me. Are you everyone, Roy?
Yes, I am everyone.
Wait, or is he no one?
John and Jesse spent weeks trying to be like, you need to test it, you need to tweak it.
Well, I mean, you can tweak it, but you don't need to.
Told me you'll test it because you'll see what's good about it. You're gonna love it. No, it's trash. I hate it.
Right, let's fighters return to your corners. Let's.
I would also like Iron. I would also like Iron Minds restricted. Just because you should choose Vince or Minds. You have one way to make your board sticky, not two.
So you notice that Glazer's love affair with Varys is really what this is all about. Like, this is the card that has not been mentioned in any of these discussions. He's like, things it cancels that just sticky. It doesn't do anything about a sticky board state except against exactly one card in the game.
That's not true. It gets rid of all your stupid. It gets rid of all your bounce shit as Martell. It stops like that extra Danny burn that you need to march a big guy. It does a lot of.
Danny burn is great bouncing for the game.
I don't think that's true. I don't think Danny burn's broken at all. Like, the best target decks don't even run Danny. I think Danny can be busted and get there because they're printed a bunch, like a giant fucking dragon that helps her. But, I don't think Danny's been broken. She's just good. She's just really, really good.
Okay.
Yeah, I would end Iron Minds. I just don't like sticky boards. I like the board state constantly changing and evolving. And I think that Greyjoy's sticky boards is severely boring if they're getting a new box that makes them stickier.
All right, Lannister.
Yeah. Wait. Discussions real fast. Asha can't be restricted because Greyjoy has no other card advantage. Can we just agree to that?
Well, yeah. Well, don't we not know what
more that she is named Asha and there's other Asha, in my opinion.
I mean, we would assume there's another Euron, right? But there's also a plot that
sure, but Euron and we're gonna come to Cersei are cards that are so good that fine.
Might as well just stop existing. Got it. Yes. And I like what We Do Not Sow does, but Scott insists I put on discussion. Anyone want to argue for We Do Not Sow to be on the restricted list?
I don't think it belongs.
It doesn't belong.
Sorry, Scott.
Definitely what we call it class fantasy in World of Warcraft. It's what's it called? It's
the Bard's most art.
It's their identity. Their identity. It's raiding and pillaging.
Faction identity.
Faction identity. Yeah. So don't restrict that.
Especially because you have to be unopposed with it, which is not guaranteed in the board size we have nowadays.
It's just one of the most frustrating first turn cards.
Sure.
Yeah. One other thing about Iron Mines and why it's on the restricted list. I didn't think of it until I checked the chat. But Iron Mines and King's Landing is a dumb interaction. A save every single turn is just not fun for anyone.
Most locations that sacrifice themselves and King's Landing are dumb.
Sure, but it's usually expensive and hard to do. Just the one. I'm just gonna keep paying one and keep my 7 costs alive. Is a big.
Gaston Gray, don't attack me.
Gaston Gray.
I feel like all the good decks. Maybe if King's Plot was restricted, we'd have to look at Gaston on the restricted list too. I guess that's fair. Because I feel like they just King Plot and then take care of that shit.
Sure. Yes,
That's pretty good.
Just saying.
All right.
Okay, Lanny, go.
Lanny.
Cersei. Lanny. Cersei is the only one that I'm sure of.
Yep.
Yeah.
100%.
We all just with heads. That's what I'm separating her from. She can still be in a crossing deck. Just do it without fucking heads.
Now,
Play the 5-3-1.
if
Play the
crossing
5-3-1.
and heads got restricted, do you think Cersei still needs to be restricted?
Nope.
No.
You can play her with one of the two,
Probably
just
not,
not both.
no.
I'm totally fine with that. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
That's
Agreed.
fair.
And I want to at least talk about Ilyn, because Ilyn in Queensguard is dumb.
Mm-hmm.
Because there's not
Yeah,
a
but
point. It's that there's not a point. So what annoys me about it isn't that it kills a bunch of people. It's that there's not a point for your opponent to really interact with it before it happens.
There is.
Vince.
It's a 2-cost character that called Vince that gets it.
I mean,
We've
that only
always
gets it
had-
once. You can
We've
just
always
stand
had
it and
little
do it
tricky
again.
ways to stand Ilyn. Like this is just one more, and it's not. This is not a broken interaction.
It's
Like,
not
there's
in-house. you have a
Queensguard
banner
is
for it.
broken in general.
yes, but
We're gonna
Ilyn
have to have
Queensguard
one of its
is
broken
not the
interactions.
problem of the meta. All right, Ilyn Queensguard is not the issue. Queensguard
Fair
is.
enough.
Don't do
Fair
this to Ilyn. Don't do this to him.
No.
Want to just move on to
3x Ilyn is just. Love it.
Lannister is almost good, by the way. Lannister is so close to being good. Everyone who's they're buried, they're fucking
No.
buried. Their shadow stuff is good.
Yes.
It's just waiting.
Mhm.
It's just
It's
waiting.
just expensive.
All their
like it's-
beaters still are good. They're just waiting for a second module to sit alongside the Tywins and the Tyrions.
No. They have the shadow stuff. They basically, it's that the shadow stuff doesn't give them consistent enough draw, and they just need to see cards for all their shit to work.
If they
Although
get
Clever Feint is a phenomenal card.
if they
Yeah.
get like a Cersei or a Tyrion that's based around shadows in this pack that's coming up or in the next pack, like that
Oh,
will probably push them over.
first edition Shadows Tyrion.
Yeah. Or
Love
I mean, I
that
guess it's
back.
off color pie
Old-
now, right?
you
The
know what
Neil
I-
Cersei from the Shadows Neil Cersei from
You know what I'd love them to really have? It's totally not the same kind of card, but I wish they had a unique Golden Tooth Mines, first edition Golden Tooth Mines.
That would
make
be
it
great.
draw every time a
That's
plot's
exactly
revealed.
what
Oh,
they need.
Every
So
time
you
a plot's
mean
revealed,
the
draw.
Westerlands? I think it was called the Westerlands. There was a unique golden to the let you play 4 essentially.
Oh, the one that Bruno HOD'd, right?
Mander.
That made
No, that
no Mander,
Mander.
right?
Yeah.
Which reveals
Yeah.
a prize plot.
No,
Draw a card?
nearly to draw a card if you have if there is a priced card reveal, price plot revealed, you can draw 2 instead.
That's
Yeah.
good.
accurate.
Yes, the Mander.
But
Commander, not the Westerlands.
if you had that, I would run 3 of that. I would run 3 of the Shadows thing, and I think Lannister's in a perfectly fine place. They're competitive. They're not the best house, but they'd be up there with most of the others. All right, Martel. Someone always tells Endurance game needs to be fucking separated.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's the only real problem with Martel, but I'd also restrict Shadow City Bastard just because I
Can we
think the card is-
just ban someone on this house?
I'm
Yes.
also fine with that. If we were banning something, someone always tells is second to Queensguard.
And any
Maybe-
non-plot
maybe third
effect
to Vince.
that messes with plots should not be in the game.
I mean, I don't want anything to mess with plots as a general rule, except in 271.
Other plots.
Yeah,
Yeah.
except for other
Yeah,
plots.
It could
Like,
be
I don't
errata
want
Forgotten
if it is not the
Planets.
plot phase.
I hate it
it's
at
too
win.
old to cancel.
No,
hate
I
it
don't
at-
want. I don't want to be able to cancel first no. I don't want to say
Yeah.
anything.
Yeah.
I think it's fair that it
Sucks.
cancels first now. I think it's fair that it can. The
I
problem is
think
it
it's
cancels.
less fair that it cancels it when you have gold. When you get to just get the gold normally, you don't have to play a plot to dedicate a plot to play it.
It canceling valors, at least in my opinion, canceling valors, Valor Harris's, people's trade routes. That's where the real problem is.
I mean, I agree with that too. I'm just saying that they're both halves of it are bad.
I set John to 2 gold on a turn. He would have like 17 gold the other day, and it felt real good.
Not to John.
He was just like, I think you just beat me. I was like, yeah, that's dumb.
No.
That's
The
dumb.
Darnage deck, he had me playing a deck that's running 2 trade routes. Like,
Yeah.
there's always
John is just greedy. John and Jesse reinforce all of each other's worst tendencies in deck building. They're like, hey, can you make this deck something that we can actually marshal cards in? Because everything costs 8 gold. Whatever. I would still like Dorn's Game Restricted just because I hate that card.
I don't. I'd like Someone All Tales and Dorn. Watching the Euro Martels, the wars, it was just clear that they put Dorn down, they played Secret Schemes, they dug through 50 of their cards, they set up the combo, and they win.
Right, but the combo was Dorn's game.
Sure.
But
the setup is insane. It takes...
I like being able to set up. I don't like being able to win the game with one card.
Yeah, exactly. If you can set up but not win immediately, you're basically set. But I don't think that's the concern. Like, I've played a lot of Martel lately. I know, shocking. But, like, the problem isn't Dorn. Like, it's that, like... Because if you just reset that board... Like, everything's expensive enough that, and they've used a lot of their gold in order to cancel shit. That, like, if like Dorn isn't it, and Secret Schemes isn't it.
No,
that, like,
you guys are wrong. Like, we learned this lesson with combo. Anything that lets you dig through 50 cards is always going to be a problem. Like, I can't believe we forgot the lessons of the past.
Why are there no other decks besides Dorn?
There's the issue isn't Dorn's game. It's consistency of it. It's that it wins every game, and they manage to do it every game. That's the issue.
I disagree.
I strongly disagree. I think it's slow, and I don't think it's that big of a concern.
I think that one of the problems in the current meta is that the rest of the meta forces Stark to go fast, and in a meta where Winterfell is present, like a Stark mid-range is around, like Doran's game decks take a big dive, which I feel like is why you saw them fall a little bit out of the meta.
Not really in the meta outside of Fred.
But no, they were running high when you weren't playing Glazer in the late winter spring season. Like, they were running hot.
I took them to a tournament.
But they were running very hot, and then they kind of died off because Stark mid-range was everywhere for a while. As we saw Fred, one of the best Martell Wars players in America, lose to Winterfell. Like, just lose to Winterfell. Like, it's Cat. Like, and Cat. Well, okay, the two of them together, but Winterfell Intrigue Challenge.
So yeah, the other thing that I think is important, and we can get rid of Secret Schemes. I'm fine with, like, just banning Secret Schemes. I don't especially like the card. I tried not to hit anyone's draw. The only person whose draw I hit is Terrell. Just because, seriously, Terrell. Like,
well, seriously, Martel.
Okay.
I love Martel to death, but
cards.
seriously.
This is an actual follow-up question.
For Terrell, it's like 15.
Follow-up question. Yeah. Why is... Okay, like, I agree. High Tower is one of the most powerful card draw engines legal in the format. Why is Dorn not at its level, though?
Mace is the entire reason. I don't think High Tower needs to be restricted, save that Mace is a card. Like, if Mace is banned, High Tower should totally be left alone. It's that it means I've got constant Mace fuel that I think means it needs to be restricted. It's got literally nothing to do with its power level to me. I don't know. I'm not speaking for everyone. I think it's a very powerful card. I think in decks without Mace, it's just a normal, very powerful card. I don't want to restrict things that are just good. And that
I disagree because, well, hold on, let's not put this. If you're okay with Dorn, you should be okay with High Guard without Mace. So the problem is Mace. So Mace should be restricted, not High Tower. Mace should be taken up the format.
Separate them unless they're both restricted. If you have a way I could separate them without restricting both, I'd like to hear it.
Because I played a lot of Mace decks, and games where I saw Mace but no High Tower, I was more likely to lose. But games where I saw no Mace and High Tower, I still had action.
You had action because you could find Mace with High Tower, like.
Well, no, but even if I never saw Mace was at the bottom 20
That's
cards.
fine. I don't care about that. I've played enough Terrell at this point because we had to test for Gen Con, right? And I played 8,000 against 8,000 Terrell decks. I totally get it, but like, there's no way to separate those two cards without restricting them both. That unless we just ban Mace, which hey, A+.
Those are
sure.
the two you want. I think
Yeah.
you're right.
Like,
I agree.
I don't know what else to do about that. Like, sure, I'd love to just say you can play. High Tower is only restricted if you're running Mace, but that's not how the restricted list works, at least as of right now.
And Glazer, and I think your argument is very convincing, but you just need to replace Hightower with Dorn and pick in Dorn's name or whatever the Dorn's game.
But
and
that's not how
and
it
it's
works.
Martell. I think you're looking at
it's
Martell.
no, because it's not Dorn that gets you it. It's almost always Secret Schemes getting you like 8 or 9 cards at once. You don't want to lose that many challenges with Martell fucking wars.
Yeah, I forgot we were still on Martell since we've been litigating Tyrell for so long.
Yeah. We'll get to
Sorry.
like also
I do think that Dorn probably does have a place on a restricted list. I definitely agree with that.
I mean, I could put Secret Schemes on there instead. That's fine.
Secret
One of
Schemes
them should be on there.
One or the other. Yeah, what Buzz says.
So I
Sure,
would say
put
Secret
Schemes on there.
Schemes if given a choice of the two. I think
Schemes is the one that avoids taxation, so
I think it's the burst draw that's the real problem. Like, I don't think the steady draw does as much for that deck. I just don't.
The Water Garden where you get to hold 14 cards into your next turn and then trade routes for 14 is just stupid. Like,
It's a real fun play. So all right, let's throw Secret Schemes on there. Do we want to discuss Ariana or Hota? Or are we just okay with Ariana and Hota?
I don't
Fine.
think they need restriction.
Faction
I don't think
identity
needs to be restricted with some enabler.
I mean, faction identity, but also deck building decisions. Like both Hotas have their place.
Yeah, people have started playing the new Hota and it's cool, but the old Hota still need to be considered, and that creates a choice, and that's excellent.
And
Card
it
games
also
is all about
creates
choices.
interesting moments when you're playing against Martell because you don't know which one to play around.
Yeah.
Mhm.
All right, ready for watch?
Sure.
Yep.
Castle Black Mason and either Shadow Tower Mason or Halder. I would prefer Shadow Tower Mason.
So,
I just want builders have to make a choice between a Tricon and going infinite on its locations and attachments, because otherwise I'm worried that they end up too good in a meta that's slowed down.
I've always found that Haunted Forest is what dumps down the decision making in the challenge phase for and against the wall deck. So I really think that Haunted Forest should not be a choice.
I think it shouldn't have been printed, but I don't see as much
Sure.
of it like even in builders anymore. Like they're running 1 or 2. But okay,
They're running
sure.
2,
Two.
and they're basically
That's-
2
that's
green
all we need.
icons. They're running 2 green, and they're basically 2 green icons,
mean-
right?
Try playing against Tamas with a Haunted Forest in play. It's like, oh my god, please no.
It's not great.
Yeah.
Yeah, so okay, throw Haunted Forest on there. Make it all 3. Like get rid of Halder, make it the 3 of those cards.
I'm happy with that.
Sure.
And like then builders should be. I mean, also builders is going to have a hard place if New Victorian gets played with the Greyjoy box, right?
Mm-hmm.
Well, I mean, they'll just have to find 2 of them.
No, that you just kneel the wall.
They just have to find a milk. They just have to stick a milk on Vic. Like if they can stick a
Yes.
milk on Vic, they'll be fine. But otherwise, if they can't, then GG. Well played. Enjoy your 4-hour game.
Yeah. Well, sounds fun. All right. I think new Jon Snow's going to end up on the restricted list. I don't think he's there yet,
Really?
but I think he ends up there. That dude is good.
I was just beating Glazer with a new John deck before we came on.
Oh,
You were.
really?
Yeah, so there was-
You're not.
I mean,
What was
he
the
was-
what was the
he was-
agenda,
he was
Evan?
dead.
What was the agenda?
It was Alliance Rose Cohort.
Ooh, classic. The classic combo.
What?
Classic combo.
Well, of like these big character enabling decks, Cohort,
Classic.
Rose. You can put Danny in that spot. You can put a variety of big
Some-
characters in that spot.
Sometimes it's Cohort Dragon, and you just reverse it into another house. But okay.
Right.
Um,
Yeah, sometimes it becomes green cards with blackish red cards, but other times it can be blackish red cards with green cards. But Florian's agenda is sitting there at the center next to it with Alliance. So
I'm fine with Voltron builds for now. I think I'm getting sick of them.
Yeah.
Like there's just like I don't think they're super fun, but I
they're
think you
going
can
to
just
make a big play at
restrictions
Worlds,
and
I
fix it.
think.
So I'm basically like I think New John is probably going to be restricted sooner than later.
I don't think so.
I'd like to see what happens, and then probably say no, restrict something else. It's his name is Jon Snow, unless it creates a non-choice where you never pick the others because
I think
he's too good.
I think it's going to create a non-choice.
That's also an issue.
Yeah.
No, I think what we're gonna end up having to go is go after the goat package. Like there's gonna be going after the cards that enable Florian's agenda to do its bullshit. So
very likely.
We're not doing phrasing anymore, for the record.
I'm assuming no one told Farce Hunter on. I just wanted to note that it's still really, really good.
Oh yeah, he's good, but they need him. Come on, we can't get rid of this Farce Hunter.
That's stupid Ranger deck.
With his 4-1 strength. Like,
I really want. This is going to surprise no one, but I would love it if Amon was restricted. That's there just because I want it, even though I don't.
Which one? I assume it's the
wants
new one because you're playing
the boring
Warsaw.
Amon. The boring Amon, like
They're
the
both
cool one is cool.
I mean,
the other Amon is cool.
You make a military challenge, they save, you ambush Venomous Blade, and you laugh.
Yeah, no, trust me. I play Martel. I know how this works. I just think it's boring.
I love it because they hate
I don't
it.
like repeatable saves.
It's like Amon, save Amon is such an identity in Night's Watch. I don't know. I don't think you can get rid of it now.
It's
like he's
such an identity in Thrones. He was in first edition as a neutral.
Like,
relic of the game.
Save yourself, Amon is
neutral
big.
and Targaryen both saved.
He's also a thematic card. Like he's just a flavor.
I've got enough relics of the game.
He's also fair though. Like he's a fair, repeatable save though. There's so many. There's answers to him in the core set. Like,
are there?
No attachments is very annoying. But.
That's the most annoying thing.
If you could ward him or
I'm going to be so sad. Ward is the only card I think, the only card I can think of in the first 2 cycles that I'm going to miss. Literally, like everything else could rotate out.
I'm not going to miss it for a moment. I am going to.
I'm going
it up about how great it's going to be.
I will burn 2 of my 3 copies of Ward, and then the third one will be in my cube.
Nice. The third one I will put on you.
Burn the Mirando full art ones, and then as my sacrifice to the Red God.
Right. Ready for start? Let's have the fight because Wyman's not on the restricted list. So can I explain why Wyman's not on the restricted list before we have this fight?
You should probably find out if people think it should be, because
you don't.
I agree.
I got screamed at by Johnny and Roy earlier, so I assume that and Scott. Severely scolded.
I didn't scream.
So, I think that anything you put on with Wyman is just getting soft banned.
Sure.
And I'd rather restrict enough other stuff that you have a choice based on your deck type.
That was a big issue in first edition with Mera, right? Yep. Mera was restricted. All-Stark picked Mera. Period.
Yep.
Right. I mean, are we talking about the other things on the list with it? Because I don't know that I want any of this stuff restricted particularly.
Rob and Wyman have to be broken up.
I agree.
They just have to.
I'm happy to break. I'm happy to break those up, and I'd be happy if nobody ever played I Am No One against me again.
Yeah. So I'm No One. So the 4 are I'm No One. For those who aren't looking, I'm No One, Summer, Cat, and Rob. Which means you get 1 piece of Wyman fuckery, but you can't do all 18 pieces of it.
The real problem for me, at least, with Rob and Wyman is crossing. Like it's not that they get the stand. It's not that they get to use everybody twice. It's that they then also get that additional power and they get the additional strength, which makes their big power challenge with Rob again.
If you take away I'm No One, it's not that scary. Because there's just ways to stop them. You play Wando Harris, and it's like, well, that's done.
Until they then play their dupes. I don't know. I played against enough Stark now and watched enough Stark games because commentating on U.S. Nationals was Stark the series that Wando Harris is not
the season of the show.
Is not that good of an answer against good Stark Rush players.
What can we put on the list so that cards named Cat and Rob aren't on the list?
Right. Wyman. Cat get
sure, Wyman.
But on Wyman alone with I'm No One, and then I'm No One is banned. and people just choose Wyman and have all their other tools.
I
with
think
sure.
people find other decks to play I Am No One
put
in.
Crossing and I Am No One on the restricted list.
I would straight up, under no circumstances, choose I Am No One over fucking Wyman.
So
yes,
if
Star Crossing could get if Star Crossing isn't on the list, then Star Crossing might choose I Am No One just from the a real low to the ground.
Sure. Over Wyman, you think?
Oh, what Evan?
Yeah, if it's running all impact plots and 2 claims and cheap guys, yeah. I think Rob should be the card on the list anyway because Rob's absurd.
If we put I Am No One, Summer, Cat, and Rob on the list, and not Wyman, are we soft banning the other Cats and Robs?
I don't think so.
I'm not sure that Cat and Rob necessarily need to be on the restricted list. At Queen of the Andals, I played Start Crossing and made it to the top 4. Top 4. And so, but if we have banned Crossing, King in the North, if we're throwing Breaking Ties, for instance, on there, Flea Bottom perhaps could be on there. That deck is already eviscerated, right? If we throw on I Am No One too, it's that deck is tier 1.5 in my opinion.
Sure, but none of them are on there. Stark would still be tier 1 with this list, but they would be fragile.
Right, which is fine.
Well, they would have I think mid-range Stark is at least if I was sitting here as the design balancer here, mid-range Stark to me is where Stark should be. It's where Stark's themes have the most counterplay and have the most interaction. Stark's
the design
super stand.
Of it. That's just your opinion.
It's my opinion of it,
right?
but their Glazer, all of this is our opinion of it, but I can back my opinion up with some arguments if you would like me to.
But their design is specifically for Rush. You can't just ignore that part of their design space. They were designed as a Rush house.
So,
I mean, it obviously didn't. They're really good.
So, what if we put only Wyman, maybe I Am No One? Remember, we have King in the North, as Evan said.
Mm-hmm.
Is everything else than Wyman really soft banned? Truly,
I'd still like to put Summer on the list because Summer's stupid.
I love Summer,
and probably Breaking Ties. And probably Breaking Ties. Breaking Ties is real dumb.
Sure.
Yeah.
But at that point, Breaking Ties has to go on, and now you're restricting 6 cards because you don't want to restrict 5-star cards. You're restricting a bunch of neutral things and affecting all these other houses because one house.
No, I'm saying King in the North, done. Mm-hmm. Wyman, done. Stark is fine.
Mm-hmm. Oh, I don't think so. I don't think King in the North is what
and
breaks
Wars
that day.
Also. So.
Yeah, I don't know. King in the North is necessarily.
I don't think King in the North is super important to that deck. It's nice. It's a nice tool. I think you're taking away nice tools, but if you weaken everyone else, I don't think
giving them the edge, though.
Oh, I don't think so. I think they have 18 different tiny little edges. I think it's just action economy. They have the exact same strength that Tar does. Action economy plus easy draw is good.
Yeah, that's true. But I can I agree with Buzz. Having played dozens and dozens of games of Stark Crossing, King of the North was my best plot in well over 50% of them, if not 60 or 75%. It's the best plot
because you can win on it a lot.
Exactly.
It flattens their interaction, and even if you don't have the King attachment on Rob, you have Renown, and they can't interact with you.
Yeah,
I played Eber's deck a lot, and I found what I wanted almost always was I'm No One. If I saw an early I'm No One, I was just winning games before it mattered what else I had.
Right, but actually, King in the North and I Am No One synergize perfectly, though, right?
Yeah. But whether I have played King of the North or not, it's I Am No One that I wanted. It almost didn't matter what I thought I had. It was just I was getting because you play if you go second, you just play it after they've dealt out 1 or 2 things, and you're just getting 6 or 7 fucking stupid power on Sansa immediately, and it's just oh well, look at that.
So I'd be fine with I'm No One, Wyman, and King of the North. I don't think it's soft banning anything else that you always pick Wyman. I'm just so super opposed to putting multi characters on Rob and Cat.
Okay, so I will move Wyman up, move Cat and Rob down to discussion, but
I would be, except for that you made the same argument with Cersei that if they get to a certain point, that they're like, okay, that's too good, and I think Rob is at that point. Like,
is he?
My
I've not
opinion,
seen the
yeah.
issue. Okay, sure, maybe.
I think if Wyman's on, you probably have to do Wyman and Rob. But like, I think Stark is the single hardest house to do. For
Maybe.
like, because there's so much. I mean, Stark and Targ are like they're the big two right now for a reason.
Mm-hmm.
I think I don't know if there's a wrong answer, but I know they need at least 3 or 4 cards restricted, and like they still might be the best. And also, guys, spoiler: if like sooner or later, Mira's probably gonna need restriction.
Maybe, yeah.
Like
she's real dumb.
Yeah, I mean, right now, even if she's like, I think she's just regular dumb right now.
She's
But
like
I
a
think
free nightmares every turn with a stealth body. Like, pretty good.
Yeah.
She'll probably get restricted. give her time. Give her moment.
so. Let's say I'm no one, Summer Wyman, and do you want Cat or Rob? Go suck it up for one of the two.
Rob, then,
No,
obviously.
Rob,
Yes.
not Cat.
Not Cat.
Rob.
Yeah.
It'd be Rob.
All right. So I'm no one, Summer Wyman, Rob.
Sure.
With Kings in the North. And remember, everything else's power level has gone down, right? So while it seems like Stark is getting killed here, like they're already way ahead. This just brings them in line.
Sure.
All right. Mirror and Cat are the discussed. Mirror is so gonna end up on there. At that point, Summer probably comes off or something. All right, Sarg, Drogo, Danny, and Sons.
You have the two Danny spelled differently. Are those not both Daenerys Targaryen?
Here. I added the other end because I added the other end in a random place because I clicked on but there, the other end is there. I think both Dannys should be restricted just because I've wanted since literally as long as this game has existed a separation between Burn and Drogo. And I think that's the easiest way to make one happen. Someone's typing up a fucking storm. Is it Buzz? It's gotta be Buzz.
Nope,
it's me.
I'd really dislike this. What if you put like Histar Queensguard? Right.
Queensguard is the single card on the whole list that I was closest to putting on. I just hate putting anything that new on the list, is my entire argument.
Well, it deserves.
Yes.
All right. I'm fine putting on. Anyone want to fight for Queensguard to stay off?
Nope.
I think
get rid of it.
I feel like Mirene at least warrants a discussion.
Mirene wants a discussion. Histar wants a discussion.
I refuse to hit
I'd really
anything's main draw.
The triple D I'd like to keep off if possible.
Triple Danny and
I
Danny and
agree
Drogo.
with
Danny Drogo.
Yeah.
The faction
don't think
identity, stuff
there's
like that.
any
It's
other
super
way.
important to the game.
Yep.
I don't think there's any other way to separate Burn and Dothraki, and I just want Burn and Dothraki to be different fucking decks.
I don't think that that's essential necessarily, but I do think that breaking up Hisdar, Mirene, and Queensguard is essential.
I could see like Danny and Aegon being on a list that would do a little bit to separate.
So, can you link me a actual good list with Dothraki and Burn? All the great Dothraki decks I've seen are Burnless,
including the one that Sandy won. Battle of Marine?
Yes, yes, but I would get in trouble if I did. Fair. It's just I think that once a dragon can burn your face off, that becomes more of a thing.
Maybe we'll see. Let's restrict it back then.
That's fair. All right, so can we at least
on the road later?
Can we at least keep fucking Drogo on? So Drogo and Queensguard isn't a thing.
That's fine.
So my argument is Histar Queensguard because the pure explosiveness of their crossing decks is insane when they have Histar on turn one.
Histar is crazy.
I think you do Aegon instead of Histar.
Because you have Histar, you set up, and then you flip into King in the North, and you're done.
Yeah.
You're dead.
I think that's kind of, like I think if you're making King in the North your restricted card, and Queensguard is already on the list, you're basically fine.
Maybe.
Like you can't then Queensguard his. You can't do everything. I would rather Aegon than Histar.
I think I'm the reverse.
Putting Aegon on there probably kills a lot of the fun Dragon Banner decks, like Martell Dragon.
King in the North and Hisdar can still do a lot of damage. Even
I don't think it would. I don't think it would even affect Martell Dragon.
What?
Excuse
me. You
me.
put Aegon on, it's just your restricted card. Like, what Martell are you choosing over Aegon? He's just your restricted card. Problem solved. You don't get Second Sons, and fuck Second Sons. You shouldn't anyway.
Right. That was what I was going with that. Like, there's no point to playing with your Aegon for garbage. Like,
you're not. You're Aegoning for
the army
for the draw 3, dude. Along with like
the
I'm sure we're not
guy.
Getting armies and mercenaries, and you've still got Dario.
Sure, but you still have to include 3 crappy Targ cards in there.
3 Aegon, 2 Dario. That's 5. 3 Freedmen. 3 Hisdar. That you're basically there, right? What are you 2 cards away? Run a Jorah. Call it a day.
So Brad.
Run up Jorah in a plaza.
That would be a reason for me to split Hisdar and Aegon, not a reason to not restrict Hisdar.
The 5-cost event. I don't think any of that's problematic. I think that's all cool shit.
I wouldn't mind putting Plaza instead of Drogo, by the way. Pride.
Pride Plaza, that's interesting.
People are running 1 Pride right now. I don't think it's an issue.
What? Oh my god.
People are running 1 Pride.
Go away with your American decks. Go. Away.
He doesn't speak for all of us. I had 3 Pride.
Thank you.
All right, but Drogo and Queensguard, I just want separated. I'm not a big fan of Queensguard plus 3 easy challenges.
That's fair.
I definitely think Queensguard is most.
Right. So right now it's Drogo, Sons, Queensguard, and then it's Hisdar or Aegon, and we just disagree on which.
I don't know. Yeah. No, not the 4th one. Stop. Hold your horses.
What's your 4th one? So we can argue Marine, but I have no house except Terrell's main draw card on this list.
If we're not putting Dorn on there, we're not putting Marine on there.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And I would love for Hightower not to be on there. If you want to make a special dispensation that you can run Hightower and other restricted, as long as that is not Mace, I don't know.
We're coming to Tyrell. We're gonna ban Hightower. It's fine.
Just ban Mace. Ban Mace. All right. So, Hisdar Aegon or something else?
Hisdar, in my opinion.
Hisdar,
100%.
Yeah.
Hisdar.
I think Hisdar's more
instead of Drogon.
Okay.
Hisdar is plenty fun. That doesn't mean he's not an overpushed like.
I think Aegon is more overpushed.
What?
No.
I do. I think an Aegon Dario trigger can just win the game on like 2 seconds.
Okay, but Hisdar's repeatable.
Okay, play Breaking Ties if that's such an issue.
Aegon is so goddamn
play
repeatable.
King in the North if that's an issue. Play Treachery or Vince.
Ugh.
Oh,
half of those are restricted
Begging
now.
Brothers. So the final in Varberg was best of 3, Free Folk versus Targ Crossing. Targ Crossing being the favorite going in. Both of the players agreed, and Begging Brother wrecked all games.
Yeah,
wow.
Yeah.
It's
Begging Brother
wrecks.
I got my Aegon Vince, and it lost me the game.
Yeah,
it happens a lot.
Yeah. Begging Brother is absolutely incredible, and people aren't running him right now. It confuses me because he needs to be in decks. All right, Terrell, ready?
Tough to fit him in a crossing deck.
Yeah, kinda. Like he's just 4 gold most of the time in that because you only need that 1 trigger if you're good, right?
I feel like Crossing just doesn't run a lot of cancels and answers and all that stuff. They just go fast.
Its speed is its answer, Glazer.
Yeah.
Sometimes some Crossing decks would like a Begging Brother.
Well, that's true, but
if people start running counters, then Begging Brother starts getting better.
Right, but then people start getting the closest would be like Targ, right? Like a more slightly slower, like Reinhardt's deck that's a little grindier. But like Stark and Tyrell, if they're running Crossing, they're usually.
Stark actually has a reasonable home for it because it's a target for I'm known.
Right, but they also run.
Colt was pointing out that it also is in Jim's Night's Watch Crossing deck.
See, there you go. Thanks, Colt. It should just be in more decks. Like even if you're just paying a 3-for-3 icon, it's not terrible.
I mean, Glazer, it makes perfect sense. We were running two Begging Brothers in our
Brother on the restricted list.
No. Whoa, hey.
Well, we do run into the problem. It's the same reason with like having Vince on the restricted list, right? Of the argument that Buzz and I made about treachery over and over again. Like getting rid of these character ability cancels throws off a lot of the game balance. Yeah, even if we hate them.
Vince isn't just there for the cancel, though. Vince is there for the 8 other things he does. They're good.
Yeah. And he doesn't have to be on the board to trigger, unlike Begging Brother.
Yeah.
I was completely joking. That was not a
Begging Brother is just an important balance point to the game, which means there's going to have to be something to replace it.
Those Tyrells, though.
All right. Hightower and Mace, because Hightower and Mace. Scheming Septon and Renly.
Lock it up. We're done here. Good job.
Renly needs to be separated from Queensguard. Has to be separated from Queensguard.
Although, is there another card we could ban so we keep the possibility of using a different Renly? Use either Bear or Renly in case we want to choose that.
I'm more on the train to maybe keep Mace off, but no.
No, I think that list is great.
Any Mace Hightower, it breaks too fast.
Yeah.
Also, I don't think anything on your discussion list is particularly close.
Old Town is what I've been told at least 3 or 4 times should be on there. So would anyone like Roy want to argue for Old Town?
Yeah, I think that if you don't have the Septon on there, the question is, what is the goal? And it sounds like one of the goals here is to get rid of a lot of the passive power out of Tyrell alongside the draw. And Old Town just gives them, if you're trying to suppress Mace and Mace style play a little bit, you've got to put Old Town on there. Like Old Town is consistently underrated by people about how good it is. Like it's an additional source of power. It's an additional source of a card. Septon, Glazer put Septon on the list, but it won't, I don't think it's going to stick. And it's just going to, and if you're running Septon as your restricted card there in these kind of Mace passive power decks without Hightower, like Old Town.
Sorry, are you arguing that you're going to run Septon over Hightower, Mace, or Renly?
Oh, Renly's on Glazer's list? I don't remember Renly being on Glazer's list.
Yeah.
That's stupid. But
Renly has to be on there.
Yeah, but like that card should be in the core set. Like Renly is a huge fix to a lot of the
in the core set and restricted. I agree.
No.
Renly should. So Queensguard is a card, right? Like we didn't suddenly forget that.
Right, but Queensguard should be. Yeah, I mean, I agree, but the problem is Queensguard. Renly's existed since.
Yes, but you see how when 2 cards exist, unless we have a banned list, Roy, you seem to be missing this point over and over again. When 2 cards exist and they're problematic together, you have to restrict both. They keep being problematic together.
Yeah, Glazer.
I get that. I don't hate Renly. I hate Renly plus Queensguard, and there's not another tool.
I also hate Renly but Queensguard. So you would want to structure a restricted list in a way that makes Banner Targaryen for Banner Dragon for those less attractive. I think actually your list without
I don't think it's possible to construct it in such a way that keeps Queensguard off the list and does
if,
that.
Like if you lose Second Sons
with Cohor, I would run 9 blanks, 3 Queensguard Alliance like Nymer did, and it would still be amazing.
Yep.
I've seen Bryn. I have not seen Nymer's deck. Obviously, it's only been in one tournament in Europe, which I have not had an opportunity to go to Italian Nationals. But I have repeatedly watched Bryn's winning Tyrell Dragon deck play. And if you go after Second Sons and you go after Kingsguard and slap it, and particularly slap Flea Bottom on the restricted list, you don't need to touch any Tyrell cards to solve that problem. The problem is the Dragon package with that, not the problem.
Second Sons isn't in. So Nymer's deck has 3 Kingsguard, yes. It's got 0 Second Sons and 1 Aegon. And 1 Dario.
How may I put this? Again, my opinion, drawn from my experience with a deck that's been in the meta longer than Nymer's deck, which may be the most amazing deck that's ever happened, but it's won 1 tournament in Italy, and these Italian decks haven't always stuck in a way that has been consistent. I'm just saying that the consistent problem is the Banner Dragon package and the way it interacts with strong cards and Florian's agenda. And that could be out of Night's Watch. That could be out of a variety of other things, which is why I said earlier when we were talking about New John that you should go after the GOAT package rather than going after every strong possible Voltron character. If you treat it like Combo was and just make it so you can't run this Queensguard cohort bullshit package, then a whole variety of Voltron options open and can stay in the meta to go with buzzes.
But you have to restrict to make that package not work.
Well, I mean, if you really want to be brutal about it, you could restrict Cohor and
Goat.
Cohor and Queensguard. Boom, done like that.
That would be like I would absolutely rather have a bunch of characters.
Yeah, or you could, if you're really scared about it, you could restrict Queensguard, and if you wanted to kill it not out of mono Tyrell, you want to do Queensguard and what is it? Sandy's favorite card, Oathkeeper, and things like and something like that. I just think putting Renly on there, it doesn't like create it. Just if you're going after the Mace deck, which is the other long-term problem, like taking Renly away and a lot of other powerful Tyrell tools underpowers Tyrell. Plus, Renly's about to rotate anyway. So I just think it's just and I'm all like I love Mace, but I'm totally
wait. Isn't rotation like a year or two away? Because it's not a year and a half to rotate at all.
Right.
Yeah. Like.
Especially with the break until March, like.
The hint of a restricted list is just about as firm as the hint of early rotation. So let's not forget that was hinted as well.
I mean, no, it's not. Did you listen to the?
It was hinted in the white book?
The hint for no, there was no mention. No, the hint for early rotation was literally us reading tea leaves. The hint for a restricted list.
No, it was at the bottom of an article. It was literally Danny said in an interview he's going to look at early rotation. Like, are you guys forgetting this? We talked about it. It's in an article he wrote.
Okay.
All right.
Yeah, it's in one of the design journals, but I think it's far more vague than what he said on the white book.
Yeah. Which is
I do think it's more likely we will see an early restricted list than an early rotation. But
I think it's likely we see
early rotation is not on the really table. I'm okay with both as well. Saying goodbye to the first and second cycle would be great.
I miss Ward.
All I'm just saying is that
Ward and Nightmares.
Yeah.
Consistently, the problem throughout this restricted list is like the Banner Dragon package, like in particularly the way in which it interacts with Goat and the way it interacts with powerful cards out of almost any faction, but particularly Night's Watch and Tyrell. So what we really need to do is go after that.
Zero Night's Watch cards restricted because of that banner package. Like literally zero.
But you wanted to restrict New John.
I said I think it ends up there one day. How is that I want to restrict it? I think it ends up there one day is like literally like.
Sure, but that if it ends up there, that's going to be the reason is because the Voltron cohort deck works with it.
All right, like I'm grasping at smoke here. Like this is where we're at the point where I'm debating with you, where like I can't get any hold on.
But I didn't say that.
All right, good work, everyone.
Yeah, good restricted list.
Restricted lists. They're not controversial topics at all.
I totally said that I'm. Never mind.
I'm on your side, Roy.
Glazer, I gotta let it go.
Roy, you, me, and the chat.
Yeah. All right. So, any other thoughts here about the restricted list in general? Sort of, Sid was in there fighting the good fight with Alejandro, and I want to make sure that their point of view is heard because it is an important point of view about a minimal list. So, Sid, do you want to sort of lay out your critique overall of this last sort of 90 minutes of our lives that we've spent sort of talking about this?
I just think a light touch. I don't know if it came through that much in the commentary, but I did try and kind of shoot down some ideas. I think a light touch is better. I don't think we want 25, 30 cards on there. I think we'll find that we regret that choice. I'd like to see it small at first. I think that will make you could put 5 cards on and it's going to make a big change. Now, is it the change every single player on this cast wants to see in the meta going forward? No, but
0% chance.
Right. But I don't even think 5.
So
I think 9 to 12.
Did you enjoy being Johnny Wright's friend?
9 to 12.
Did you enjoy being Johnny Wright's friend?
I've known him a lot longer than you, sir.
He hates you.
So don't worry. He doesn't hate me. Johnny Wright loves me.
Hates you. He's sitting there cursing you. He's burning your pictures right now. He yelled at me because my touch was so light.
This is, oh my God, no.
Not kidding.
No,
I believe it. Johnny wants like half the card pool band. It's great.
That doesn't surprise me. But like, no, I think a light touch is the way to go, and you expand on it if you need to. Like, you look at the way the meta changes as a result, and you add to it. I don't think going 40 cards or 30 cards or even 25 cards and then just taking cards off. Like, if you're taking cards off immediately, you had a bad list. It's a bad list, and it was bad for the game. You do a small, and you build from it if you have to. Like, no one knows what a list is really going to do the meta. This is all hypothetical, and a half measure is better than 3 orders of magnitude too far. That's where I'm at.
But I mean, the thing that here's what I disagree with you. Said like nothing. There's no secondary market that you have to worry about with restricting and banning cards in an LCG. Like no, like you don't. But that's why they don't do it in other games.
There's still consumer trust.
There is, but I mean, consumer trust. I don't think there's a consumer trust issue because look, the cards still exist. You don't have to worry. You didn't sink an investment of say $25 per every copy of Renly that you purchased, right? If Renly goes on the restricted list and then 3 months later goes off the restricted list, nothing has changed with your collection or its value. And so I don't, at least again from my personal point of view, I think that cards coming on and off as a way of like balancing, like as a lever in and out of the meta, is actually one of the advantages that LCG has over other CCG formats, or like from both digital and other and more traditional CCGs like Magic or Yu-Gi-Oh or things like that. So
I think we agree. We're only disagreeing on where the sweet spot of stopping that lever is. That's all.
I mean, so I think a half measure with an unhealthy game for a 3-month ban is less than just restricting too much and having to completely refigure out the metagame when we're not going to get any new cards.
I think that we should be real here and realize that FFG will do what some would call a half measure. They seems to be so much against doing big changes and try and do slight small changes, but not doing them often, rather doing them every year or so. So I'd like to see them try a small list, a half measure, if you want, but then follow up on it.
I'd like a full one and just regular updates.
Well, and I think something that you glossed over when we were in their section, but I think is a pretty major sticking point here, is that we are getting an entire box worth of cards before this list happens. So we are going to see a shakeup whether we want it to or not, and whether we want it to be 2 shakeups or we want it to be like 2.5 shakeups. Like, that's all kind of personal opinion, but the specifics of the cards we're picking might be different, once we see the entirety of the Greyjoy box.
Yeah, I mean, they could release only Sea of Blood, and we're going to see a shakeup.
Sure.
Evan, do you have any thoughts? You don't have to talk about the future of the card pool, obviously, or things like that, but sort of the restricted list and what do you think about our list here and where you think?
Yeah, I'm a big fan of restricted lists as a tool to not just balance the game and break up like degenerate combos that happen to slip through, but also to keep the game interesting and engaging over a long period of time, and just be like, okay, now we're gonna try this and like we'll see what the meta does, and just shake things up just for the hay of it. Regarding like this list specifically, I feel like there are a few too many cards on here, and I would like to see more champ cards on here. But but yeah, that's pretty much where I'm sitting right now.
You trying to get Iron Bank banned? Jeez.
Faceless Man is degenerate.
I mean, Schoenthal's champ card should be Westeros Bleeds, and then we don't even need a restricted list.
It's like the opposite of a card I would make, Aaron.
I'm aware, but it's okay to be wrong. Greatest moment in second edition of the game was Let It Bleeds, which is really just a reference to first edition stuff.
Okay.
All
right.
Okay, everyone.
Do we have anything else that people want to add before I throw in a couple of minor newsy bits before we get going?
Let's do it.
Okay. All right. So this is our last episode in September, which means we have 2 episodes before the World Championships. We will be continuing, of course, in our run up to the World Championship, our usual pick'em. But of course, there's one major thing we haven't done to close out the 2017-2018 competitive season, which is the infamous Second Sons meta report. So that is going to be one of our projects that we will be working on in October to bring you guys. Hopefully, we'll be able to have some returning guests, but of course, that's all schedules pending. But it's definitely something for the 5 of us who are regular. It's 5 of us now, right? Who are regularly on this cast. Sandy. 6 with Sandy. To make enemies every year. The most feedback we get about Second Sons comes from the meta report. So if you are excited for the drama side of this podcast, get ready for a full dose of it. So that will probably be one of our episodes and in October. Does anybody have any tournaments that they want to throw out there before we get going?
I have one, yeah. October 20th is the next stop on the kind of road to Kubla WCC circuit. It's at Game Castle Mountain View. That's in the South Bay in Northern California. So that's October 20th. You can check Facebook for the details or the WCC page for details. Should be a lot of fun.
Called the Battle of Bravos, which you never
Battle of Bravos. Thank you. Yes, the name is Battle of Bravos.
I'd like to prop Throne Soberfest, which is actually the same day. It's in Philadelphia, and congratulate Team Martell on their big win.
We'll have an episode.
We have FFG Nordics 27 October.
That's some Ebri-esque boasting, right?
So that means you guys are going to be the winner of Nordics is going to be going to what, the Worlds 2019 then?
We have said that if they want to catch a flight the day after, basically, they are welcome. But
not paid for by the
the
distributor.
We will pay, but if you can manage it, sure, why not? Go ahead, but likely next year.
That sounds like an amazing weekend to go straight from Nordics to Worlds.
Yeah.
If we could get a rundown, Buzz, of people from Europe that you know that are going to Worlds, maybe in a future episode, I think that'd be a good mini segment.
Like Euros going to Worlds, you mean?
Yes.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, I can gather names.
And
Nima is going.
Worlds-related thing. Sid and I are slowly going to be starting work on the other major Second Sons Worlds-related, besides our Pick'em Worlds-related thing, which is the Shots for Plots World Championship, which was broadcast live on Twitch last year. So
as well as live on all the TVs at Joe Sensors, which is
Joe Sensors. It was an amazing. You saw that, didn't you, Evan?
Yeah.
You and Ryan were there for that. Yeah. Some of our competitors aren't necessarily going to be able to compete this year, and I kind of have this mad idea of having 2 Americans versus 2 Europeans for.
That's what I'd like to see. I'd like to see it as an international competition because we know the Euros can drink. Maybe even better than us, dare I say. So I'd like to see them put to the test.
That was not what happened in Poland.
So. All right. So those are sort of, we got a lot. October is a very exciting month for Thrones across the world. And we're all, of course, looking forward to the big event in Minnesota in what is basically still October, but is the beginning of November.
And Frankfurt, maybe?
And right before Worlds, you got the Night of the Laughing Tree tournament at the GC. So if you show up a day early, you can play in that.
Yeah.
That's always
everyone's favorite
good time.
Halloween event.
Yeah.
Cameron posted a bunch of pictures today from the alt arts that they're giving out at that, and they all, as is expected with Minnesota events, look spectacular. So I'm bummed that my flight's not landing until 7, so I'll have to purchase those. But
one of the few tournaments where you might get the chance to play against me. So
right, this is Evan's world. This is Evan's World Championships, right?
You want to be anywhere near the event center, considering how intense your weekend is.
It's true.
That shows Evan's commitment to this game is that he spent his free time right before one of the biggest events in Minnesota of the year with us. But so Evan, do you have anything you want to add before we sign off?
I do not.
Well, I want to thank you for joining us. It was an excellent episode. Buzz will export this to YouTube, and I will do my best to get it up tomorrow to you audio listeners. But otherwise, until next time, it was Great to have y'all. Take care.